Continuing on with the examples, we'll write the handy mnemonic on the top. SOHCAHTOA. So this is our angle that we're using. So this becomes the opposite. This becomes the adjacent. This becomes the hypotenuse. Now instead of trying all three of them, maybe we could try and figure out which one is actually the one we want before we write it down. So sine is opposite of our hypotenuse. So sine is opposite of our hypotenuse. We don't know the hypotenuse, so we're not going to use sine. Cosine is adjacent of our hypotenuse. Again, we still don't know the hypotenuse, so we're not going to use that one either. Maybe I shouldn't have used x, I'm like crossing it out. We're not using it. And tangent is opposite of our adjacent. Oh, that seems like the one to go with. So it's going to be tangent. Now I can't just write tangent alone, of course. It's tangent of something, so it's going to be tangent of 57 is x over 32. Multiply both sides by 32. And then chunk chunk. So 32 tan 57 equals x. 32 tan 57. So that's going to be x is 49.27, which I'm going to write as 49.3, and the units are kilometers. Units don't really make much of a difference. Example 4. This one's going to be a little more complicated, as we'll see. So we will write SOHCAHTOA on the top. We will label our sides. This is the hypotenuse. That's our angle, so this is the opposite. And this over here is the adjacent. And so we have our angle. So sine is opposite of hypotenuse. We have a number, we have an x. Actually, that's right away, that's the one we're going to go for. So it's going to be sine of 13 equals opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, now the tricky part here is that the x is on the bottom. So before the x was on the top, but now the x is on the bottom. So the x is in the denominator, which is a fancy word for the bottom. What we're going to do, we're going to multiply both sides by x first. The x's cancel, chink chink. And we get x sine 13 equals 7. Now we can't just divide by 13, and we can't just divide by sine. Sine by itself is nothing, and the 13 is not really that. Essentially, you have to think of it as the sine 13 is an object in itself. What we're going to do now is we're actually going to divide both sides by the sine of 13. And so what we get is, and then what happens here, those guys cancel, and we get x equals 7 over the sine of 13. 7 divided by, in brackets, sine 13. And remember, calculators could all be different, so you may have trouble doing this. But it turns out to be 31.11, which we round to 31.1, and the units are centimeters. So let's practice that one last time. Write the handy dandy SOHCAHTOA on the top. Label the sides. Ooh, this triangle's in a different orientation, so all the other triangles are kind of in the same way, but it doesn't really make a difference. The hypotenuse is still across from the 90. So this is still the hypotenuse. This is the opposite because it's across of our angle. This one's left over, so it's the adjacent. We're going to figure out which ratio we're going to use. So sine is opposite of hypotenuse, no dice. Cosine is adjacent of hypotenuse, we still don't know hypotenuse, no dice. Tangent is opposite of our adjacent, that's the winner. So it's going to be tangent of 62 is opposite over adjacent. And the x is on the bottom, so we're going to have kind of those extra steps. Chink, chink. So x times the tangent of 62 equals 88. We divide both sides by the tangent of 62. Chunk, chunk, those go away. And we end up with x equals 88 divided by the tangent of 62, or tan 62, which we could plug into the calculator. 88 divided by tan 62. And x is 46.79, which we could write as 46.8, and the units are going to be meters. So x is 46.8 meters, and that's it.